Good afternoon. It's Monday, July 15th, 2024. This is Encouragement Only by Janis Commentz, the podcast version of my Substack Newsletter. I am grateful I chose Encouragement Only for the title, and I will continue with my original intention. I want this to be a breath of fresh air and a word of encouragement. I want to come alongside you with some practical tips and good things I am discovering every day. 2024 will be an interesting year. We will focus on mind, body, soul, spirit. I invite you to read the Substack Newsletter because it includes a lot of photographs and places I have visited and people I've met along the way. However, I began this podcast to help some of my friends who do not do well with a lot of screen time and welcome a familiar voice. Summer is generally my favorite season, and although the weather has been a bit intense, I have made good use of my time. This episode will cover two different letters: City of Dreams, an artist looks at her hometown, LA, originally published on July 3rd, and The Creative Spirit of a Community, Laurel, Seidl, and the Glass Outhouse Art Gallery, published on July 14th. Concentric circles, Venn diagrams, circles rippling when we skip a rock across a lake. Think of all the circles you have been a part of from your youth until today. How have they changed? This month, circles from my past have caused me to think about my hometown, Los Angeles, and this episode is entitled City of Dreams. An artist looks at her hometown, LA, as in Los Angeles. I just read a wonderful reflection in Janis Commentz' new novel, Miss Morgan's Book Brigade. A writing student declares, "I'm all about place. Who we become is about where we're from. The City of Angels is definitely part of who I am." Los Angeles is an unusual city, and without dipping into vast LA history, let me say aircraft, automobiles, and movie stars. And if you are looking at my written version, I've got a photo of the long Santa Monica Beach from the air, looking toward Palos Verdes, where I grew up. An adorable photo of my grandmother and her sister as teenagers in the streets of LA in about 1917. And another lovely photo of the entire basin lit up at night. Earlier this year, I heard about an extensive exhibit of French sculptor Camille Claudel, and I knew her incredible work was coming to the Getty Museum. I began plotting a visit. It had been a long time since I had been to the Getty, and I really encourage a visit there if you have not been. It also seemed like a good time to revisit where my mother had been raised, Hollywood. My grandmother lived, now the Mid-Wilshire district, and my uncle lived, Coldwater Canyon. Many of you are LA residents, and you know all about Los Angeles. To others, this is a world seen only on the silver screen. So here are some very rounded off figures. If you like numbers, you'll love this. If not, bear with me. Los Angeles is populated by about 14 million, and it covers 500 square miles. Greater LA, which encompasses all the communities connected to it, is inhabited by 13 million people and covers about 33,954 square miles. Paris, a city I love to visit, really has 2 million people living there and covers about 40 square miles. It's very walkable and has a great transit system. London has a population of 9 million and covers 670 square miles, Washington, D.C. has a population under 1 million. It is 679,000, according to my most recent report, and covers about 68 square miles. The two towns in which I dwell, Yucca Valley has a population of about 22,000. It's very tiny, but it's the size of Paris, 40 square miles. And Joshua Tree, whom everybody seems to have heard about these days, has a population of 7,000 and covers about 37 square miles. We're talking about the town, not the national park. Back to Los Angeles. Los Angeles grew as automobiles became popular, and it sprawls over gentle hills and a basin. When my grandmother and grandfather, when my great-grandmother and grandfather decided to move to California, attracted by the bounty of the Golden State from Texas in 1906, Los Angeles had fewer than 320,000 inhabitants. Early on a Tuesday, I headed toward the areas around Los Angeles County Art Museum, the Getty Museum, and a few sites suggested to me by friends. So let me show you a small corner of LA as someone who can drive the streets by feel and landmarks, but I now use Google Maps to avoid traffic clogs. Today, the secret, less crowded routes are available to all. I arrived at the LA County Museum of Art, known as LACMA, by 10 a.m. Following Google directions, I realized I was on West Olympic Boulevard, and I drove by my elementary school from 3rd grade. I was traveling down memory lane. The Los Angeles County Museum of Art is closed on Wednesdays, and I parked in the new-to-me underground structure. Now, when I went up the stairs and emerged, I was in utter shock. The 4-story, white, iconic, mid-century building that I remember was not anywhere in sight. It is totally gone. I was able to look straight ahead to the iconic installation of street lamps known as Urban Lights by Chris Burden. Yeah, it's a collection of those LA lampposts that I had seen all of my life. Gone was the dramatic entrance with the stairs from Wilshire Boulevard, and I was really kind of in shock for about an hour there as I waited for the museum to open at 11. I walked to the digs of the La Brea tar pits, which are world famous. Fortunately, the tar pits have not been moved. The Tar Pit Museum, formerly the Page, is adjacent to the Art Museum and across a grassy parkland. And don't let that area fool you. One time I took a vintage tablecloth for a picnic, and it soon had little speckles of tar all over it. Loud construction noises accosted me. LACMA is constructing a new fluid 1-story structure which will connect to across the street onto the next block. The Japanese pavilion was closed. The Broad Contemporary Museum and the Resnick Pavilion and a portable but nice restaurant are the only 3 buildings open this month. Currently, a small selection of the museum's collection has the Ed Ruscha Now and Then exhibit, which is fascinating if you are familiar with LA. His first comprehensive cross-media retrospective in 20 years is in the Broad Contemporary Building. According to the Tate Museum in London, they say, Ed Ruscha is widely regarded as one of the world's most important artists with a career spanning 6 decades, from the early 1960s until the present. his images, photos, and prints of LA over the decades, including a large work of, yes, that iconic white building at the LA County Museum of Art, reflect the city's evolution. As a teenager, I saw many exhibits there. I remember Jericho's Raft of the Medusa visiting from the Louvre Museum in Los Angeles when I was probably in junior high. Charles E. Birchfield's dramatic watercolors loom large in my memory. As a high school student, I participated in several programs. We attended the museum weekly, and at the end of the program, I was selected to serve as a student docent for the Navajo blanket exhibit. Oh, this took me out of my French Impressionist comfort zone and taught me the beauty of Navajo weaving and the importance of being open to new ideas, styles, and cultures. Speaking to the public was also a great exercise for a 16-year-old. The LA County Art Museum opened in 1964, and before that, the official county art museum had been at Exposition Park downtown. My mother took me to several exhibits, and I saw paintings of the Rouen Cathedral in France by Monet from my stroller. I believe these early experiences deeply affected me. The Resnick houses contemporary exhibits, including Painting the River of Los Angeles, Judy Baca and the Great Wall. A history to tell the perspective from those who have erased it. And she transforms the museum into a studio with painters in action. I visited and talked to the project director, whom I learned has a house in Joshua Tree. It is a small place. Near Farmers Market, I encourage you to look at the photographs in my Substack newsletter for this episode. I visited Farmers Market, LA Galleries in the West Adams District, and as I was on my way, I realized I was very near my grandma's old house. My grandmother painted the living room and dining rooms, her favorite pink. And my tutu, as she wanted to be called grandmother in Hawaiian, had managed the gift shop and floral concession of the famed Pacific Seas Clifton's Cafeteria, which in its day was as famous as Disneyland. Her kitchen held large glass canisters filled with enticing candy-looking supplies for making her artificial floral lays. Her patio was covered with a large hibiscus floral roof. And I also drove by the home where I lived until I was 5 in Windsor Park Hills. It looks great, but instead of my mother's signature pale green, which I call Martha Stewart green, it is now slate. My dad designed a Hawaiian paradise backyard, and I wonder what is there now. You can visit, but you can't really go home. And yet, who we become is about where we are from. On the second day of my visit, I visited the Getty because I had originally planned to see the exhibit of sculpture by Camille Claudel. Those who think they have not heard of her have most likely heard of her famous teacher, lover, Auguste Rodin. The inside jacket cover states that we often remember about her tragic love affair, her 33 years in a mental asylum, and other parts of her tragic life. But according to Octave Mirabeau in 1895, she was described as a revolt of nature, a woman genius, period. I think it's interesting that because she was a woman and a genius, she was considered a revolt of nature. The exhibit is wonderful, and I really wanted to see it. I got there very early. I had it almost to myself. You could almost touch the pieces, and it definitely was what I was expecting to see. I stayed in a little Benedict Canyon Airbnb, and I got there very early. And if you have never been to the Getty Museum, I suggest you make a visit. It's sweeping white buildings on a cliff overlooking the sea, and the 405 freeway are remarkable. And the museum has always remained free. You do have to pay $25 for parking, but it is well worth the visit. This is just a very slim slice of the incredible urban sprawl that makes Los Angeles. With 13 million different views in Greater LA, it is many cities rolled into one. Each is like a mini city with a distinct flavor. The sprawling, sunny, urban city of angels, La La Land, Tinseltown, the city of dreams. This week, I still have LA on my mind, and I'm curious, what are some of your favorite films set in Los Angeles? I watched Steve Martin's LA Story, over the top silly, but with hidden truths and one-liners. And I love the opening musical number in La La Land. If you have never seen it, I've got a clip for it on my newsletter. Somehow, when I first saw it, and LA traffic is totally stopped, and it's a giveaway here. It's a musical. Singers and dances are cavorting over the freeway. It just seemed like something that could happen in LA. Be sure to watch the clip. As usual, thanks for listening. Part 2, the creative spirit of a community. Transition occurs, and this week our community is honoring and grieving the loss of a beloved gallery director from the eastern part of our basin. The creative spirit of a community was embodied in Laurel Seidl, the Glass Outhouse Art Gallery. And I know this is encouragement only, but keep listening. She was quite a character, and we miss her a lot. Let me give you a little background. When you first hear the name, the Glass Outhouse Art Gallery, you say, "What the heck?" And I think all of us said that in the beginning. Founder-director Laurel had been a school bus driver, and when she approached local galleries in the area, her art was rejected. She was determined to create a gallery where all could show, and she did. Her only restriction, and she semi-jokingly said, "I will not show pornography, and I know it when I see it." Eventually, her venue became one of the most popular in the desert and featured top local artists and even those from around the country. For many years, there was a 4-year waiting list to show. Over 15 years ago, Laurel hired artist Robin Gowdy to remodel her rabbit hutches. Yes, I said rabbit hutches, as they constructed the gallery. An outhouse was built. Robin suggested Glass Outhouse as the gallery name, and the rest is history. And yes, it is a fully functioning outhouse with one-way glass and an amazing view. This year, in June, the gallery celebrated its 15th anniversary. Each opening was a special event, and the annual anniversary parties are community gatherings. Music is always part of the opening, and during the summer, the sunsets from the Glass Outhouse Art Gallery are spectacular. I can't think of anybody in our community more beloved than Laurel Seidl. Sunday, June 7th, we learned of her passing, and our community is truly mourning. Kind, generous, amazing, Laurel was always thinking outside the box. Unique and surprising, The Glass Outhouse Art Gallery found its way into a Smithsonian Magazine article entitled Smithsonian Magazine's 8 Unusual Roadside Attractions Worth Stopping For. I featured an article early on in 2014 in my blog, Desert Argonauta, and please look at my written newsletter for all of the links. Over the years, many of the artists in our community have held exhibits at the Glass Outhouse. Even I was a little bit hesitant when I first heard the name. Soon I heard that the late Kathy Allen, artist and director of Copper Mountain College's art department, was exhibiting there. I was ready. Laurel never charged a fee, but it was understood that she would love to collect one of your artworks, and she's got several of mine. Featured artists were also given a loaf of her sister's fabulous nut bread. Lists and schedules were all completed by hand. Yes, by hand, by Laurel or her partner, Frank Mescott, who would hang the show and label the artwork. Although the waiting list was long, each artist would gladly sign up for another 4 years at the conclusion of his or her exhibit. Student exhibits were also an annual thing. No one was left out. During the summer, the gallery closed, but a sign instructed visitors to honk. And as people began to walk around the property, Frank created more and more installations. Oh yes, they're unusual. Skeletons working out at Ghoul's Gym, metal dinosaurs, glass bottles. There are hundreds of items out there on the pathway. And one day, Laurel decided she wanted a chapel. Frank built it for her. Quite a few weddings have taken place there. Originally, the other rabbit hutches featured panoramas that you could walk by and look into. And eventually, these structures became more gallery space. Few know, but Laurel once showed me her back storerooms where she collected items all year to give students at the nearby Catholic church for Christmas. Laurel had a heart of gold. She was nominated for several awards in the community over the years, but recently she received an award sponsored by Joshua Voice magazine, which was established in 2021. She was presented with a Joshua Award, which she called The Rock, for Outstanding Art Gallery in the Basin in the fall of 2023. We are missing our sweet but spunky Laurel, and when asked, she would always tell her stories about the highs and the lows of life, her school bus driver days, and purchasing the land in Wonder Valley with the rabbit hutches. What a grand adventure. Our community is mourning, but I am convinced that her love and her vision will continue. Let me conclude with, I believe there are other Laurels out there in the world creating welcoming spaces, sharing hospitality, and showing love. It's important that we keep our ears and eyes receptive and that we learn from their generosity. And if you have memories about Laurel, please put them in the comments or send them to me. As always, inspired by all of you. This is Janis Commentz.